right. Well, are you satisfied? Or did you just get rolled again?
Folks, we've been sold another bottle of DC snake oil.
People have had it.
In the end, President Obama got his way, he got a deal, and moments later he boarded Air Force One and jetted off to Hawaii, where he's known to enjoy the Gulf, the Hawaiian ice cream, and of course the body surfing.
Where did you think he should go? Uzbekistan or what for his vacation?
2 months from now, the president and the Democrats in the House and the Democrats in the Senate are all going to be talking about higher corporate taxes or higher taxes somewhere on, quote, the rich, in order to pay for not having sequestration. You haven't heard it yet because the president wants to get to Hawaii and finish off his hometown vacation.
Look, everybody thought here in Washington there was a pretty bruising battle over the last few weeks over the fiscal cliff. Get ready, because as soon as the president comes back from Hawaii, we've got the debt ceiling.
While I will negotiate over many things, I will not have another debate with this Congress over whether or not they should pay the bills that they've already racked up through the laws that they passed.
When the president said today that round 2 will be the debt ceiling, he's right.
Wanting no fight over the debt ceiling? Are you kidding me?
What the president was saying was, I'm not going to play chicken with the debt limit.
The president also wanted an unlimited debt ceiling increase. That was clearly somebody who was quite happy to go over the fiscal cliff.
Washington needs to be put on a mega diet.
So this is a hollow victory, a victory of revenue with no change in the nation's march toward becoming Greece.
If we do not take on spending, then the cliff may not seem like a cliff, but it will be a downward slide to make us like Greece.
We Republicans need to be willing to tolerate a temporary partial government shutdown and insist that we get off the road to Greece, because that's a road we're on right now.
The uncertainty of whether or not we're going to deal with those deficits, in addition to the uncertainty of the debt ceiling and the uncertainty of sequestration, it still sort of undermines the ability of businesses and investors to invest in this economy.
And you just heard from him, Congressman Darrell Issa, now warning if Congress doesn't take on spending, the country will go into a downward slide to make us like Greece. Congressman Issa joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Well, nice to see you, and nice to have you concentrating on what you're best at, which is this waste in government that, over and above all the things we argue about, gets slipped into every big bill.
And, of course, there was no discussion about waste, I should add. And I mean there's the debate on this fiscal cliff has been about spending and revenue taxes, but I haven't heard anything about waste from anybody.
Well, and Greta, if you had simply taken what shouldn't have been in last night's bill out, you would have at least taken it from the $330 billion net increase in spending down to something closer to neutral. It might have been more palatable for some Republicans, but it was the best excuse in the world to say we're for lower taxes, but not if we're simply passing it on to the next generation.
All right. You were just quoting that video saying that we're on a path to becoming like Greece. Greece, which I might add, is a 26% unemployment rate, and if it defaults on its next round, it's going to end up getting kicked out of the Eurozone. Why do you say we're on the path to Greece?
Well, because the people in Greece continue to reject any kind of real reform because they've been so long denying reality that they think they can do it forever. The Americans are not that far from when we had a balanced budget. We're not that far from when we paid for what we consumed. But we've got to get back to it pretty soon, because after 12 years, you're beginning to build a generation of citizens, and even more, a generation of politicians who think this can go on forever.
What is going to happen with the debt ceiling? I mean, people didn't really notice, but last week Secretary Geithner sent a letter to Capitol Hill saying we have hit the fiscal with the debt ceiling. He can now do some sort of maneuvering with the money so that we at least have some cash for about 2 months. But we're about to run out of cash, and we're going to have this big fight over the debt ceiling. What's going to happen?
Well, first of all, Tim Geithner, bless his heart, he's a little disingenuous in one sense.
How can he be a little disingenuous?
Okay, here's the bottom line. There's an incredible cash flow that's going to come in because, in fact, people cashed out all kinds of capital gains. Fourth quarter was about a lot of people taking gains on which they're going to pay taxes. And in the first part of this year, the government's going to be flush. And through about April 15th, they are going to have the ability to cash flow. So his idea that he can stretch for 2 months is probably more like 5. But the real point is, when are we going to say that the budget should be linked to in fact, the debt ceiling? We put a budget together. Whatever amount we say we're going to deficit spend in the budget, we increase the limit, and you sign both at the same time because it's one bill. I don't believe in playing chicken with, in fact, the debt ceiling if, in fact, we've already appropriated the money and we're simply not allowing it to be spent and borrowed and spent. But I am for saying, you know what, there has to be a once-a-year agreement on the budget. It happens to be the law, and it's been ignored.
All right, for better or for worse, and I've been very hard on Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, there has been no budget coming out of the Senate. Now, the President submitted one to the Hill, and the Republicans in the House have submitted one. Whether you think those are good budgets or bad budgets, at least they put them on the table for discussion. Senator Harry Reid, pocket veto, he doesn't put one in the game, so there's no discussion about budget. End of discussion about budget. We have no budget.
Well, you're exactly right. The president has a budget that at best would never get a vote in the Senate. It's bloated, but you're right.
But at least it puts, his budget, I mean, even if you hate his budget, it puts the discussion in play. Senator Harry Reid just single-handedly stops it.
Right. He violates the 1974 law. We end up passing up. We didn't just propose a budget. We pass a budget. We send it to the Senate, and it goes nowhere. And then we deem it, because that's what the act says, and we begin acting as though we passed the budget.
And a fraud. It's a fraud.
Well, it's the best we can do under a law.
But I mean, it's like, you know, the American people get a little bit, I would think, a little bit disenchanted with the fact that all these games are being played.
Well, one body is doing what they're supposed to do. Not all the time, but in the case of the budget, Paul Ryan did what he was supposed to do. You saw the commercials that came out of his saying this is what it will take to reduce the deficit, not to eliminate it, to reduce it. And that's what the president campaigned against.
Well, I actually think the president, as leader of his party, could call Senator Harry Reid and say, stop playing with this. I think that he could do that, too. So I think the president is somewhat complicit.
He could have kept the pork out of the stimulus, but he didn't.
I think he's complicit in this whole business. All right, so we're going to have this discussion, and the Republicans say that Senator McConnell had an op-ed tonight saying that there's going to be no more tax increase, none. You smile, you laugh.
Okay. Mitch is a longtime friend. I believe him.
That's usually what you say about somebody before you slap someone around.
No, he came to see me personally when I ran for the Senate. He was straightforward. He was right. I didn't win that one. But the fact is that where Senator McConnell will say that, and I know he means it, is he doesn't have the votes. Ultimately, the problem we have is what we've done is we've taken this $4 trillion slug of heroin and then said we won't do it again. Well, the vote the other night was $4 trillion of new deficit, new debt as a result, and then we're saying, well, we're not going to do this. They will be back, and they will be saying, if you want to do this, you want to do that. As a matter of fact, what the president will start doing is he'll renew that 4-to-1. Oh, yeah, well, give me $1 in tax, and I'll give you $4 in cut. We just did $4 trillion with no cuts.
Is Speaker Boehner going to have any problems becoming Speaker Boehner again?
No.
None at all?
No.
Has he done a good job?
You know, he's been Speaker of the whole House. And
has he done a good job?
No, Greta, here's the answer that really is, has he been the Republican right-wing strongman? No. Has he been the Speaker of the whole House? Sometimes, in fact, recognizing that the art of the possible is not in his party alone, yes. Is there someone going to challenge him? No, I don't expect it. Does he have a dilemma, which is ultimately it isn't working as well as we'd like to? We're not able to message. And oh, by the way, we're not united in the most important things Republicans stand for, which is restraining the growth of government. Yeah, that's a problem. And under his leadership, I hope with Eric Cantor and others, we can fix it.
I think it's a very difficult job trying to corral all those people. And I think the Speaker's job is a particularly
hard one. But Greta, you know, he's done one thing. We don't do earmarks in the House. You saw the other night, and I know Susan's going to talk about it, you know, you saw what effectively was a ton of earmarks coming in from the Senate. And Hurricane Sandy, it's got $30 billion worth of earmarks in it effectively.
Congressman, thank you, sir.
Thank you.